What is going on with the right to abortion in the United States? Which states explicitly protect the right to an abortion? What are trigger laws? And what's going on with birth control? Will IUDs get banned? What's going to happen if I use a period tracking app? Roe versus Wade is what we're going to talk about today. But before we get started, I'm going to ask you to hit that subscribe button below and also to click on the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. If you don't know me yet, I am Silvia, and I'm here to help you feel less overwhelmed by the news, eager to create change, and more informed about US politics through easy to navigate content. Let's get started. We're going to start with the basics. What exactly is Roe versus Wade? Roe v. Wade is the lawsuit that led to the 1973 Supreme Court decision establishing a constitutional right to abortion in the United States. Another case you might hear a lot when people talk about Roe versus Wade is Planned Parenthood versus Casey. That's a case from 1992 where the Supreme Court upheld Roe, but it paved the way for more restrictions on abortion access. So what's going on now, and why is everyone freaking out about these cases and saying that the right to an abortion is about to end in the United States? Well, recently, a document got leaked. This document was a draft of the majority decision of the Supreme Court on a case. If that is how the majority of the Supreme Court is going to vote, then we know that the Supreme Court is going to overrule the long-standing precedents of those cases that I mentioned, Roe versus Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey. When that final decision comes out, there will no longer be a federally guaranteed right to abortion in the United States for the first time in almost 50 years. Now, I'm going to go into some more specific questions like, what are trigger laws? Will birth control and IUDs get banned? And what about telemedicine? So if you find any of this content valuable, I'm going to ask you to please give me a thumbs up below so the YouTube algorithm knows that this content is valuable and shares it with more people. What are trigger laws? Trigger laws are laws that aren't enforceable until something happens. In this case, overturning Roe versus Wade would trigger two types of laws. In 13 states, there are trigger laws that passed after Roe went into effect in 1973, and in 9 states, there are laws that existed prior to Roe versus Wade. And by the way, some of those states do overlap. According to the Guttmacher Institute, if Roe v. Wade is struck down, there are 22 states with laws or constitutional amendments already in place that would make them certain to attempt to ban abortion as quickly as possible. But in addition to those 22 states, we have 4 more states that are very likely to ban abortion. And we know this from their political composition, history, and other indicators like recent attempts to limit access to abortion. Those 4 states are Florida, Indiana, Montana, and Nebraska. One of the issues with those trigger laws is that they're not specific about certain situations like miscarriages or ectopic pregnancies. And I'll be talking more about those in just a minute. But first, I need to answer the number one question I've been getting in my Instagram DMs. Will IUDs, intrauterine devices, and other birth control get banned? That is an excellent question. A lot of people are wondering if IUDs or other contraceptives like the morning after pill will be banned. And the answer is not a simple yes or no. A leading Republican in the Idaho House said he would support holding hearings on legislation banning abortion pills and morning after pills. He also said, IUDs, I'm not for certain yet on where I would be on that particular issue. A few days later, he clarified that he supports contraception, including IUDs, and would not support hearings banning contraception generally. But he said that he has heard of safety concerns with emergency contraceptives like Plan B, also known as the morning after pill, and abortion pills, even though there are years of research showing that both medications are safe. Here's another example. Under current law, access to birth control in Missouri would not be affected if Roe versus Wade is overturned. But Missouri is a state with a GOP supermajority that controls the Missouri legislature. The Missouri Senate did vote last year to ban common forms of contraceptives like the morning after pill and some IUDs from being paid for by the state's Medicaid program. That bill that limited access to contraceptives passed, but at the time it was set aside because there was a bipartisan coalition of women in the state Senate that fought against the provisions targeting contraceptives. Now, here's the problem. Half of the Missouri State Senate is up for election this year. Are we absolutely sure that the newly elected Senate is not going to try and pass a bill targeting contraceptives again? What if this time there's no coalition that blocks it from being passed and signed into law? Dr. Jennifer Kearns, an associate professor at the University of California in San Francisco, who also provides abortion care, says that political attempts to block access to IUDs and other birth control would be consistent with the pattern that we're seeing right now. Many of us are very concerned that that's kind of the next up on the chopping block. That's because some anti-abortion activists now believe that life begins when the egg is fertilized. And that's why they're attacking birth control devices like IUDs or emergency contraception like the morning after pill. And here's a piece of this whole situation that I haven't discussed yet. What happens with miscarriages or ectopic pregnancies? Some people often miscarry alone early in pregnancy with no need for medical assistance. But there are times when a miscarriage involves heavy, prolonged bleeding, and treatment is exactly the same as abortion, the same pills or procedure. Doctors in states that outlaw abortion are afraid of the repercussions for treating miscarriages. Now let's talk about ectopic pregnancies. Those happen when a fertilized egg implants outside the uterus, often in the fallopian tube. Ectopic pregnancies can be life-threatening medical emergencies because they can cause massive internal bleeding. And if some of these lawmakers believe that life begins when the egg is fertilized, then if the egg is fertilized but implants itself into the fallopian tube and there is need of surgery, is that surgery considered abortion? I know that I have not answered your question. You want to know if IUDs or other birth control is going to get banned. You want to know what's going to happen to people who suffer miscarriages or ectopic pregnancies. I don't know. Sadly, this all depends on where you live and what happens at the state level. In some states, I have given you clear examples of what is moving through the state legislatures. And that's why I need you to pay close attention to what's going on in your specific state or the states where your loved ones are living. I want you to also be careful about what you see on social media. There are some posts falsely claiming that states like Tennessee and Missouri have banned Plan B, the morning after pill. That is false. These states do have trigger laws that would take effect if Roe versus Wade is overturned, and things like abortion pills would be banned, but not the morning after pill. Some of you are very creative trying to solve this problem, and you might be thinking that telemedicine is the answer. And I'm sad to report that some states have started already cracking down on access to abortion pills, specifically targeting mail orders. Now, as the name implies, these pills can be ordered online and mailed to the patient. They have previously served as a workaround for those people living in states with abortion bans. But just recently, Tennessee Governor Bill Ree, a Republican, signed a law that criminalizes mail order abortion pills, like I said earlier, not Plan B, the morning after pills, criminalizes abortion pills. Under the law, anyone who wants an abortion pill will be required to visit a medical clinician and follow up with the clinician in person within 2 weeks. Anyone who sends abortion pills via courier, delivery, or mail service will be fined up to $50,000. Tennessee is one of 19 states that currently ban the use of telemedicine for abortion, and according to state news, an additional 5 to 10 states are expected to limit access to telemedicine abortion if Roe versus Wade is overturned. So the next question a lot of you are asking is, Sylvia, which states protect the right to abortion? And I'm glad you asked. 16 states and the District of Columbia have passed laws that would explicitly protect the right to abortion. The names are here on the screen or in the description below. And I also want to mention that some of these states are moving to pass legislation that will expand abortion access. They're preparing for a potential influx in patients, many from out of state, because they know that people are going to be seeking care. Before we wrap up, there's another question I've been getting a lot. What's going on with period tracking apps? Should I be worried? Here's what's happening. Privacy experts are getting more and more concerned about how data collected from period tracking apps and other applications could potentially be used to penalize anyone seeking or considering an abortion. Millions of people use apps to help track their menstrual cycles. One of the most popular ones is called Flow. They say that they have about 43 million active users. Another one you might be familiar with is Clue. They say they have 12 million monthly active users. As you might have guessed, these apps have access to a lot of very personal health data. The apps can show when someone's period starts, stops, when a pregnancy stops or starts. So here's the issue. If abortion is criminalized, the data could be used to suggest that someone has had or is considering an abortion. Someone can issue a subpoena to obtain the data or the app itself could just sell the data to a third party. And you might be thinking, Sylvia, you're being paranoid. Am I? The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, reached a settlement last year with Flow, the app that I mentioned earlier that has 43 million active users. Why? Because an investigation found that Flow shared information with Facebook about when a user was having their period or if they told the app they wanted to get pregnant. The lawsuit said that Flow misled users about the disclosure of their personal health data. But it's not just about period tracking apps. Let's talk about location services. What happens if someone is sitting in a waiting room at a clinic that offers abortion services? The app could be collecting location data. There's also your search history. So, am I telling you to throw your phone out the window and become disconnected from the world? No. The Digital Defense Fund has excellent resources available to let you know what you can do in each case. For example, turn your phone off or put it in airplane mode when you're in a clinic that provides abortion services. Use a search engine like DuckDuckGo to protect your search history. And if you want to track your period on your phone, you can use an app like Yuki. The link is in the description below. They store your information directly on your phone, not in the cloud like many other apps do. And it even has other security features like requiring a PIN to make the app more private. There's a combination to display a fake screen or even allows you to delete your data whenever you want. Now, if you want more information about this, check out digitaldefensefund.org. The link is in the description below. Also visit tonolatino.com/subscribe to sign up for my emails because I'm going to send you information to help you be better informed and less overwhelmed. And if you haven't done it yet, smash that red subscribe button below and I'll see you again soon.